Welcome back to Important Updates, global news without the noise. Subscribe to stay updated. Why are there not more people talking about the transformation of the port of Piraeus in Greece? For thousands of years, it's been Athens' main harbor, a vital artery for global commerce at the crossroads of Europe, Asia, and Africa. Today, Piraeus is one of the Mediterranean's busiest ports, transformed by nearly $1 billion in investment. Cranes tower over new terminals, handling the world's largest container ships. The port's capacity has exploded, making it a shortcut for goods from Asia into Europe, faster and cheaper than northern routes. But this is more than a logistics upgrade. It's a reinvention with global consequences. Piraeus is now a primary entry point for Asian goods into Europe, a critical link in the supply chain. Why does this matter? Because this crucial European infrastructure is now largely controlled by a Chinese state-owned company. That fact has set off alarm bells from Washington to Brussels. The transformation of Piraeus is a story of money, power, and the shifting balance between China and the West. It's about China's rising influence and America's growing concern. The battle over this ancient harbor reveals the new world order, one defined by intense US-China competition. Piraeus is no longer just a Greek port, it's a symbol of global rivalry. The stakes are high, and the world is watching. This is where our story begins. Welcome to the front line of a new era. To understand how we got here, let's rewind to the late 2000s. Greece, crippled by financial crisis, was desperate for investment and began selling off state assets, including Piraeus. While Western investors fled, China's COSCO saw opportunity. In 2009, COSCO took over 2 main container terminals, bringing new management and technology. The port, once plagued by strikes and delays, became a model of efficiency. Traffic and profits soared, and in 2016, COSCO bought a majority stake in the entire port authority. For China, this was more than business, it was strategy. Controlling Piraeus gave COSCO a competitive edge and smoothed the flow of Chinese goods into Europe. But the bigger picture, Piraeus became a flagship of China's Belt and Road Initiative, President Xi's vision for a new global trade network. The port is now the dragon's head in Europe, anchoring China's economic corridor into the EU. By securing Piraeus, China gained a vital foothold deep inside Europe. This was not just about profit, it was about power and influence. The world took notice. The stage was set for a geopolitical showdown. Piraeus was no longer just a port, it was a prize. The Belt and Road Initiative is about more than infrastructure, it's a strategy to reshape the global economy. China lends billions to build railways, ports, and networks, connecting the world to its markets. Piraeus is a critical node in this web, a gateway to Europe's 450 million consumers. By developing a fast logistics route through Greece, China bypasses congested northern ports and deepens Europe's reliance on Chinese supply chains. The port showcases Chinese engineering and management in the West, boosting Beijing's prestige. Politically, China gains leverage. Greece, an EU and NATO member, becomes a friend inside Western institutions. Economic ties can translate into political influence. Greece has even blocked EU criticism of China in the past. COSCO's plans go beyond cargo, expanding cruise terminals, building hotels, and developing a logistics park. The goal is a comprehensive economic ecosystem embedding China deeper into Greece's economy. This isn't just a port, it's a multifaceted presence shaping Greek life and policy. China's strategy uses economic power to build lasting influence. Piraeus is the blueprint. The world is watching. From Washington's perspective, China's control of Piraeus is a red flag. US officials have demanded China quit the project, a rare and dramatic move. Their concerns are threefold: economic, political, and security. Economically, they argue Chinese state firms like COSCO don't compete fairly, using government subsidies to outbid rivals. Politically, the US fears China is using economic power to divide Western alliances, making Greece a potential weak link in the EU and NATO. Security-wise, Piraeus is seen as a tool for Beijing to pry open cracks in European unity. The US is drawing a line in the sand, signaling it won't tolerate unchecked Chinese expansion. This isn't just about one port, it's about the global balance of power. The message: America will push back against China's strategic ambitions. The contest is on, and Piraeus is the battleground. The world order is at stake. The stakes couldn't be higher. The struggle is just beginning. The US sees China's role in Piraeus as part of a predatory, state-driven strategy. COSCO, as an arm of the Chinese state, can pursue geopolitical goals beyond profit, squeezing out Western competitors. The fear, as China controls more key ports, it could one day use them as leverage in a crisis, disrupting global trade or denying access to rivals. Washington wants to prevent critical infrastructure from falling into the hands of a strategic rival. There's also concern about standards. US and EU projects require labor, environmental, and transparency safeguards, often missing from Chinese deals. Critics warn of debt traps and imported labor, while the US touts its own model of free markets and good governance. China counters that it's simply investing abroad like any major power, reviving a failing port and creating jobs. From Beijing's view, US criticism is hypocritical, an attempt to block a rising competitor. China calls its investments win-win, while America sees protectionism. The debate is fierce and the stakes are global. Piraeus is the test case. The world is watching who wins. America's deepest anxieties about Piraeus are security-related. The port is close to Suda Bay, a key NATO naval base. The Pentagon fears a Chinese-run port could be used for intelligence gathering on NATO warships. Modern ports are digital, with advanced sensors and networks, potential tools for espionage. The concern: Piraeus could become a dual-use facility, supporting both commerce and, potentially, Chinese military operations. The risk isn't just warships, it's data. US officials worry about cyber vulnerabilities and backdoors in port systems managed by a Chinese state firm. In a crisis, this information could be invaluable to Beijing. China dismisses these fears as paranoia, insisting COSCO's role is purely commercial, but Chinese law requires companies to cooperate with state intelligence if asked. For US and NATO officials, that's a risk they can't ignore. The suspicion lingers, the trust gap widens. For Greece, this is a high-wire act. On one side, the US, its key NATO ally and security guarantor. On the other, China, the economic partner that rescued Piraeus and created jobs. The Greek government publicly praises COSCO's investment, emphasizing compliance with EU law and economic benefits. Privately, US officials warn Athens about over-reliance on China and push for American alternatives. Greece tries to have it both ways, welcoming Chinese money while making concessions to US security concerns. The pressure is intense. Real-world choices matter on 5G networks. Greece nudged providers toward European vendors, a nod to Washington. Athens is walking a diplomatic tightrope, but as US-China rivalry grows, the middle ground is shrinking. Every decision risks angering one giant or the other. The balancing act is getting harder. The stakes for Greece are enormous. The world is watching which way it leans. On the streets of Athens, opinions on Piraeus are split. For many, especially in Piraeus, the Chinese investment was a lifeline after the financial crisis. Jobs, growth, hope, but skepticism remains. Unions protested privatization, fearing job losses and foreign control. Some workers complain about tough conditions and unfamiliar management styles. National pride is at stake. Many Greeks are uneasy about a historic port in foreign hands. The debate reflects a broader divide. Pragmatists welcome investment, arguing Greece must take help where it can. They see US warnings as self-serving and credit China for stepping in when others wouldn't. Business communities back the partnership. They see results. Others, aligned with the West, worry about sovereignty and hidden costs, fearing Greece is drifting into China's orbit. Security concerns echo America's. The government faces a divided public, making any clear choice politically risky. The port is more than infrastructure. It's a symbol of Greece's future. The nation is at a crossroads. What's next for Piraeus? The future is uncertain, shaped by US-China rivalry. One scenario: Greece keeps balancing, supporting China's investment while reassuring the US, but this gets harder as tensions rise. Another, US and EU pressure leads to tighter regulations, limiting COSCO's influence without forcing a sell-off. Or, Greece could lean further toward China if economic benefits grow and Western support falters, risking a rift with NATO and the EU. Each path carries risks and rewards. Piraeus is a microcosm of the global struggle over power, influence, and the rules of globalization. The choices Greece makes will echo far beyond its shores. The stakes are high, not just for Greece, but for the world. The outcome will reveal the new rules of the road in a world defined by US-China rivalry. The waters ahead are uncharted. The world is watching. The next chapter is unwritten. The tide is turning.